Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? I am attorney Lisbeth Iniguez, and I'm very excited to introduce one of our clients at Franco Law Group, Ms. De La Cruz. Thank you for being here with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, and congratulations on becoming a mother. I know you have a newborn, so that's exciting.
Thank you. Yes, we're so excited. We have Nicholas here, and so we're really happy to be new parents.
Perfect, thank you. And thank you so much for making time for this video. We really appreciate it.
No,
And
thank you.
yeah, and we want to share your testimonial in particular because you recently obtained your residence, which again, it's a big victory. Congratulations. You are now a resident of the United States and you can now have that peace of mind. But it took many years and many attempts to obtain your residency. And that's why we're doing this video, because it's a video of hope, a video of all our community to continue fighting and continue maybe researching whether or not they're eligible to obtain the residency. Because as we know right now, many members of our community are in this dilemma, the fact that they're undocumented, and it's a very scary situation, which you know, many of our clients are facing. So I want to give our audience a brief summary of your case, if you allow me to do so, so they understand how long it took us to be here and the challenges in your case. So briefly, Ms. De La Cruz came to our office in 2011. Can't believe that, many years ago.
I know.
Yes, she came in 2011. She had her first consultation with Ms. Franco. And basically, Ms. De La Cruz has been living in this country since 1990. She was one year old when you were brought by this, you were brought to this country. And then, unfortunately, your family becomes victims of fraud, as many of our community tends to, because, you know, unfortunately, individuals, notarios, prey on our community, dreams to become residents or to obtain a work permit. So your family becomes victim of notario fraud, and that takes a toll on both your lifestyle and your family's lifestyle. So what happens is in around I believe 2005, you were about 11 years old.
Yeah.
They become victims of this, and unfortunately, this notario filed an application for your family, which they didn't qualify, and that placed them in court. Yeah. So now they were fighting to stay in this country before a judge, which is obviously very challenging to do so. Immigration courts and just the law is very hard. So then, unfortunately, your family was not able to establish their case before the judge, and they were ordered removed. And that included you as well. You were only a child, and I could only imagine you didn't even know what was happening. You were probably not even there. And your fate was being decided for you. So this happens. So unfortunately, your family is ordered removed, and your family keeps fighting. So they fought. So after a judge orders someone removed, they can appeal what's called to the Board of Immigration Appeals, which they did. And unfortunately, that was also denied. Yeah. And then they appeal again to the Ninth Circuit. They lived in California, and that's the highest level we can take a case. And the Ninth Circuit again ruled against them. So they dismissed the case. So now at this, you know, you're still a child, and unfortunately now you have a removal order. And so my question is, did you know what was going on at that time?
I had an idea because there was a lot of talk and there was a lot of, amongst my family, but I didn't understand like the logistics of it and, all of that. So I had an idea, but not really an understanding.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm sure you were thinking of just finishing your homework, playing with your friends, things that kids want to do, right? Things that kids should do, right? Without thinking of the legal aspects of determining whether or not you're going to be able to go to school the next day, which unfortunately, currently it's happening. We're seeing obviously a lot of kids being detained right now, or kids that are in court. So unfortunately, nothing has changed since it happened to you. Okay. But yeah, so it's very unfortunate, and that's why we want to share your story, just to show obviously that it is possible. Obviously, it just takes it takes a lot of time to be committed and just knowing the right people to handle your case. So then this happens, unfortunately, at a very young age. You have a removal order. basically a deportation order, which prevents you from doing a lot of things. So then in the transit of this happening, thankfully, DACA arises, right? In 2012, President Obama announced DACA, and that allowed you to at least get a work permit, regardless of the removal order, right? So how was that having, so you applied for DACA and you had DACA. So how did DACA change your life in that point in your life?
Oh my gosh, it changed my life completely because I like this was the first time I didn't feel like I had to hide. I feel like, okay, I'm present in the United States. Like they know my presence. Like if I apply, they know. Therefore, I have all these like, benefits because of it. And so that just felt like a relief for me. I was able to, work. I was able to do all these things for school and just activities. And I just felt super blessed and again, relieved just to have DACA. So it
Yeah.
felt great. Yeah.
And were you ever afraid to apply for DACA knowing that you had this removal order and you were giving immigration your information?
Yes, I was yeah, I was like terrified. But I knew I was eligible. And because at that point I had attorney Franco, and she's like, you're eligible for this. So I went in with like, I was afraid, but I was like, let's just turn it in because I need to start this. And even though I feel so scared, I need to feel hopeful that everything's going to be okay and I'm in good hands. Again, I was with attorney, and so she was telling me you're eligible for this, take advantage. And I did.
That's cool. That's great because I mean, a lot of individuals in your situation would have been fearful, and with reason, right? You have a removal order, and now you're telling immigration, "Hey, I'm still here," and it's the unknown, right? But that's the thing with immigration; it's the time not to be scared, right? To be vocal and to know your rights and to know that, hey, I qualify for this. I'm gonna do so, right? But
Mhm.
it's in my situation, it's easy to say it to my clients, but it's hard as someone that is exposing themselves
Yeah.
to take that step, right? So sometimes it's hard and I understand it, but it's as long as it's the right time and everything is done correctly, then
Mhm.
someone should obviously try to have that benefit because it gives you a sense of stability for at least those 2 years.
Exactly. And maybe try not to overthink because that's what I noticed. Like if I overthink something, it was just my fear is going to take over. I was like, I am in good hands. Let's just move forward.
Yeah,
That's how,
absolutely.
yeah.
And let me ask you this, why did you choose Franco Law Group to represent you?
So I'm super intuitive when it comes to people. I had shopped around for lawyers, and nobody gave me this explanation of again, during this time, I'm a kid, like I'm like 20 years old or so. And so I didn't really have a background in law or any of, some of the words in there. I had no idea. I actually went to the Mexican consulate because none of the attorneys that I had seen were cutting it for me. And I'm going to make an investment because I know that I'm going to be in this for a while. And so therefore I'm looking for an attorney that I can communicate with because this is a relationship and I need to feel comfortable and I need to just find the right one. So I don't want to settle. So the Mexican consulate basically said, I have attorney Franco. They highly recommended her. And I said, okay, I'm going to go. My consulate is suggesting I should see her. And I go and I sit with her. Now I'm not going to choose her just because of the consulate, but I chose her because of the way she made me feel. One, I felt comfortable with her. I felt like I could have a conversation. I could ask questions. She literally made me feel like she was a relative, like somebody I knew, that made me feel comfortable. And second, she explained everything. I remember her. She looked through my file because I went with like a big packet. She wrote a list. I remember number one, number two, number three, and she explained everything in such, with such simplicity that I was able to understand it. And she gave me that paper and she said, okay, this is what we have to do. And I just understood my case, which before I like there were some things that I wasn't really, sure of, but she explained my case. And that's when I knew like she's going to be my attorney. Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. And prior to coming to Franco Law Group, how many attorneys did you have a consultation with?
I actually had maybe like four. I remember seeing four and then the consulate. So yeah, there was a couple.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then so you retain our services, and at that time it was to file a motion to reopen your case to hopefully, because with the removal order, you couldn't do anything, right? Even if you wanted to apply for your residency, you could obtain DACA, but then that was it, right? And DACA, as we know, is something that's temporary. It's not a permanent relief. So we had to file a motion to reopen in order to then allow you now as an adult to actually defend your case before a court, because you don't have that chance, right? Someone else defended it. I mean, your parents. But now as an adult, you were able to do that. We filed a motion, and it wasn't easy. It took time. We filed it with the court. The court said, at this time, we don't want to reopen your case. And so we took it to the BIA, to the Board of Immigration Appeals. Thankfully, they opened your case. They allowed you to give, obviously, an opportunity to go back to court, to present your defense, to figure out if you can stay in this country lawfully. So how was it going to court after so many years had passed, and now you go back to court, defend your case again? How was that experience?
It was so scary. It was so scary, honestly, because this is me coming back. I'm understanding now everything that's happened, everything that's gonna happen, everything that I'm fighting for. So I was so scared. I was so scared, and I just remember thinking, like, feel this feeling, but know that if you don't push forward, you're gonna be stuck. And I don't want to be stuck. I just remember thinking, I don't want to be stuck, so I have to do this. Yeah, but I was afraid.
Yeah, definitely. And I think your courage is what took you all this way, because I remember, Attorney Franco and I've worked with you, and you've always been so positive, and I think that has allowed you to still stay, how should I say this, like, encouraged to keep fighting, because immigration is complicated, it's messy, it's and sometimes it's not easy, and it takes someone that is determined, that is patient, because you were a client for almost 9 years, 9 years, and that's the thing, you were very patient, because with immigration, we're on their terms, right? I can tell you how long it's going to take, but it's on them whether or not they want to move the case. And I think throughout the whole case, you've always been very patient and understanding of how the steps that it's going to take.
Thank you, and I think it was everything was explained to me. Therefore, I felt calm about it. When and you have an understanding, you feel better about it. I think about being patient and not so anxious. You don't, I think there's people that are not aware of what's happening to them, and therefore they feel anxious. They're not patient.
Yeah.
But again, Attorney Franco was very great about explaining everything.
Yeah. Perfect. And then while in the hearing, so when you go back to court, that's when DACA, it's announced, and you're able to obtain DACA, and they closed your case, right? Which allows you to stop going to court and then just live your life without this removal order, which is a huge win to begin with. And then fast forward, you marry your high school sweetheart, right?
Yes, we were together. We were together for such a long time, and we're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you get married, and he's a U.S. citizen, and then that also opens the door for another potential relief with DACA as well. So he then petitions you to become a resident. And by this time, you're able to do so because you no longer have that removal order. So we filed your application to become a resident. I think that was like maybe 2 years ago now. We filed that, and then we go to the interview, and again another interview now with an officer. And how was your experience? Again, exposing yourself now in an immigration office, interviewing an interview in order to obtain your residency.
I was so scared. I was so nervous. I remember waiting in the waiting room and just kind of like feeling the anxiety that was kind of like in the air, because everybody was there waiting, for their interview. So you feel like the tension. And I just remember just seeing all of the officers calling, different names. And I just remember just feeling so anxious. The officer that called my name, I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, thank God, like it's my turn. And she was great. She was like an angel. She treated me like a human, and I just felt so grateful that, she was the officer that was assigned to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were very fortunate to have a very kind officer, at least an officer that was able to hear your story, right? Because again, we're in a situation where we constantly have to explain this long history, and it can be confusing. It can be, it could take time, but we were very fortunate to have an officer that was able to listen to us, your whole history, and then luckily your case was approved. You obtained your residency, but we were not done yet, right? So we still had your case. Your case was temporary closed in court. It wasn't terminated. So now we have your residency approved. We have it, and now we just have to terminate the case. But we're under this administration, which makes things even more complicated. So I reached out to the government attorney to see, obviously, their position in closing the case. Because you're a resident, right? You're a resident, you don't have to go to court anymore. But we're on this uneasy times, and they responded to me and said, at this time, you have to file a very detailed motion, basically convince us that we should join you in terminating the case, right? And again, I could have just filed it with the judge, but I always want to make sure the government's on board to facilitate and avoid going to court and fighting something, right? Again, I didn't want to put you in court again, but sometimes we can't control that. But if I can, I'm going to try to minimize the amount of times you have to go to court and expose you. And especially because at that time you were expecting your first baby as well. Yeah. So then, I think they responded to me, and I said, okay, let's wait a little and figure out if I get a different response. And then COVID happened, right? And we were all forced to work from home. So I reached out again to the government attorney, and I said, hey, my client is a resident. She has absolutely no negative factors. She's an asset to the community. You're a teacher. You're married to a U.S. citizen, just had a baby. So luckily they were like, she's a resident. So at this time we agree. We're not going to oppose that she terminates her case. So thankfully they were on board. And then I filed a motion with the judge and basically telling the judge that you're not a resident, the government's not opposing termination. And finally, 2 months ago, I received the order saying that your case is now terminated. You don't have to go to court. You can now, just live here peacefully knowing that you're a resident. So that's exciting, right? So it's just happened a few months ago. So how do you feel about finally?
Your part, 'cause I remember the first response wasn't that great, so you knew to do the second. So I was really grateful that you did the right thing because you needed that approval. But now as a resident, I just feel like a relief. I feel great. I feel like I'm finally able to really take advantage of all these benefits that the government has for us, and without feeling afraid to apply. Because before, I think when I had DACA, I didn't want to make any waves. I wanted to just be very content with whatever was given to me, and I didn't want to go and reach out to services or anything like that. But now I feel just very blessed and very just grateful and relieved. Whatever benefits the country has, I will take.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely takes a huge stress from you, right? The unknown. That's always the fear with the majority of my clients. It's like we can do everything we can, and that's in our hands, but ultimately, the judge decides the case and the officer decides the case, and that's out of our control. And that's always the scary thing with immigration, that I can have two cases that are exactly the same, but I can have two different outcomes, right? And because it's at the end of the day, the officers, judges are human beings, and sometimes they decide things differently, and that's what makes this type of work very complicated. But yeah, so now you're a resident. So what are your future goals now?
Future goals. So right now I need to finish school. I actually am finishing up my bachelor's for psych, which is a prereq for what I want, which is the master's in school psychology, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm balancing that with being a new mom and just doing as much as I can with the opportunities I'm given.
Yeah, definitely. And what would be your recommendations for other DACA recipients or other individuals in your similar situation? What would you recommend for them?
For individuals in my similar situation, I think it's very sensitive for me because I understand the fear that people, are feeling, because this is very real. Your future is here, you're used to things, and now it's like you're just, have this looming over you. And I understand that feeling because it's very scary. But I definitely want people to feel hopeful that, you keep hearing such negative news from the news, from different attorneys, which is real. They need to tell you this because it's true. But don't feel that just because you keep hearing this that there's no hope. Because I remember hearing, oh, this is very hard, very hard, very hard. And that word was stuck in my head because, they kept telling me how difficult it was. But that's not going to stop me from knowing my rights and knowing that, it's still worth pursuing, that this future that I have for myself is worth pursuing than what I had before, with that feeling of being stuck and being like I can't move forward. So just know that it is possible, and there's good people, like you guys, and the immigration system is so up in there and sometimes not super consistent with everyone. But just know that you should stay hopeful, push forward, know your rights, and same for DACA. Like, just know what just be, just take advantage of the opportunities that you have, that DACA gives you. Do as much as you can to stay in that positive, road, and just know that things will get better.
Yeah, definitely. And especially right now with what's going on with DACA, thankfully we had a win with the Supreme Court that, it still lives on. But it's
Mhm.
really important to know that DACA is temporary, right? And it's really important that all the dreamers that are out there, that they figure out if there's another path to something more permanent, right? Whether it be
Mhm.
if they're married to a U.S. citizen, maybe they were victims of crime, but they need to figure out if they qualify for something more permanent, because we don't know what's going to happen with DACA, and that's also, it's very stressful for all the DACA
You're
applicants.
totally right. And I know a lot of people who actually sit down with attorneys, and they find out like, oh wow, you had this incident happen, and X time you actually are eligible for something. You just don't know. So it's always good to go and just ask so that you know what is available to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't be afraid. Mhm.
Yeah, especially now with where we're going. I mean, COVID. Now we have, if it used to be the case that people really were afraid to go to an office, because it's kind of
Yeah.
scary to see an attorney or knowing, the reality. But now at least, there's phone consultations, there's video conferences. So I think definitely people should take advantage of it.
There's
Because
accessibility, yeah, definitely. Now you don't have to schedule anything. You could do it from home, or just, you have your phone. So it's better now, yeah.
yeah. So anyone that's seen this video and is a DACA, or maybe you're not a DACA, just, schedule consultation, because I think that's the very common thing. People are afraid. People don't want, they don't know, or they believe, no, my case is too hard. They already told me no. But you don't lose anything, right? Just a consultation. It's a peace of mind. And maybe, unfortunately, if we can't help you, at least and you're not a victim of fraud in the future, right? Because I think that's
Yeah.
also essential to know
And let me
exactly
tell
where to
you,
start.
yeah, those people that will look for you at a more affordable price will sell it. They will sell it. They will sell it, and they will make you feel, notarios is what I'm referring to. They will give you advice for a more affordable price, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Always seek attorneys. Always go to the right people, because they will take advantage, and you don't want to land in the wrong hands.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you said that, because it is so true. Sometimes, unfortunately, especially right now that we're having financial crisis, legal services can be expensive, especially if it has a long history. But I
Mhm.
always tell my clients, we try to help them with monthly payments. There's
Mhm.
always a way, right? But unfortunately, when you go and see these notarios or these unfortunate ethical attorneys that are charging like half the price, and I'm like, you always get what you pay for. So you have to be very careful, because, a good representation, sometimes it may be costly, or maybe, but it depends on the complexity of the case. But always, just make sure if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think right now we're seeing that people are more informed, at least luckily the, social media is being keeping the community informed. But still, don't trust everything that's on social media either, right? Because know your sources, know where it's coming from, and just stay up to date with the news. And before you say yes to an attorney and before you hand over your case, make sure you do your due diligence. That you maybe, now Yelp, review their reviews, make sure, what have they done in the community, because that's really important. Now we have a lot of things in order to avoid to be victims of fraud, or landing with an unethical attorney, right? Because it's like each client that that retains our services, it's putting their life in our hands. So it's really important that you choose wisely, because something that a notario does for you is going to follow you throughout your whole history with immigration, as you're aware.
Mhm.
But Ms. De La Cruz, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it takes courage to be so open, but we're very thankful that you're sharing this with our platform to hopefully motivate those individuals, whether it be DACA recipients or just members of the community that don't have status, to not give up. And I think this is the most important, especially right now. There's hope, right? There's hope. Even if you think everything, if you have a hard case, if you've maybe been told no by another attorney, just schedule a consultation. Schedule a consultation. Just hear another opportunity to see whether or not you qualify for something, and at least you get that sense of peace that I've tried my best. This is maybe I can do something, maybe I can't, but at least I know, right? And I think that's important. And just being very informed, not trusting your case just to anyone, especially right now. Our immigrant community tends to be preyed by very, unscrupulous notarios, unethical attorneys. So just being very mindful. And I think luckily we have a lot of resources right now available through online that we can research, or the attorneys, where you can just Google my name and you can find everything about me. So, it's good. You just have to use it in your advantage. And always trust also, it's the sense of, do I trust this person? And even if they're a good attorney, do I get along? Because I think getting along with your attorney is essential, because it might be many, many years of relationships. So,
I agree. And yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because that's exactly why I'm here. I'm here to show and share my story that this could happen. This could happen to you. My case was so difficult. And I felt everything that, other people may be feeling before starting, or while, the case is running. But yes, definitely just feel hopeful and know that laws always change, and, just know what your rights are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yes, thank you. And again, congratulations on becoming a resident. And hopefully soon we will help you become a citizen. And then that is it. You don't have to worry about immigration anymore. You can just come visit us with your baby. We're always open here, hopefully after COVID, But yes, you're always welcome to our office. And we're very glad that we were able to help you. And obviously now you're part of our Franco Law Group family. You're always going to have a very special place in our heart and in our office. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.